da, 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 da. Bap. Compiling shaders. Here, let me get on this. I'm gonna use a Doom Guide emote. Yeah, I like this one. Oh yes. Greetings, wanderers. We have more Cronos, the New Dawn tonight. Now, this is one of those games I would love to just go straight to the end on stream. Kind of like what was the last game I actually finished on stream? I think it was AI Limit earlier this year. I've learned. Actually, I'm getting some issues last time. I think it was I didn't have this set to ultra performance, but I have it set now. Hopefully, I'm not coping too much with the lack of frames. But I've learned over time streaming that there's just some games that I just don't want to. I don't want to stream front to back. But this one, this is one I absolutely do. And that is absolutely fine. Because if I don't enjoy it, then I'm going to put on a shitty stream. If I put on a shitty stream, you're not going to want to watch. Yeah, I did this last time, right? Yeah, I did. Okay, so... Series will be fun if it is as fun as it's worth. Exactly. Firepower. This game may not be fun streaming because certain times so it's fun again. See, it's fine if I play like a shitty game, and I know I have games that I want to stream that by all accounts would be considered a shitty game, like Kusogi, as they're sometimes known. That I can meme on and have fun with, but there's also some really good games that I just don't think I could make a good show out of. Case in point, Hollow Knight. I'm probably not going to stream Hollow Knight again. But Hollow Knight is really good, but I don't want to stream it. Oh, you can put away. Torch fuel. Shell patch. So I can actually craft these into more, but I think bullets I'm definitely going to need. There. And some games, I'll just clear them in one night. I think I read this last time. Yeah, I did. Like, Dead Cam, Dead Take, and so on and so forth. There's gonna be a lot of those this upcoming October, because a lot of these horror games aren't very long, which is perfect for me. Oh, motherfucker. Okay, wait, hold. No! Oh my goodness. Damn. Those guys got rocked. Oh, am I gonna start coping again? I noticed the anomalies chug frames really bad. Let's go left first. And I was worried it was my PC, but it seems that it's just the game in and of itself isn't super optimized. In any case, I saw the IGN video of this game. They were playing on a 5090, and their computer was still chugging. God damn. Oh god, here we go. Here we are, the frame tanks. If it gets out of hand, I will just shut this off and play something else. It seems to be area-based. Good god. Citizens, a permanent lockdown has been ordered. Any unauthorized attempts to leave the city will be severely punished. And then the frames are back. There's the anomaly. And here comes the chugging. Where is it? Where is it? Down there? No. I think I have to drop down first. Alright. Oh, I see. Let's get rid of this leg here. Another one. Oh, that's it back. Okay. Here we go. Okay. My assumption is that reveals something else I should be using. But where? Where is it? There it is. See, as soon as the anomaly is gone, the frames are back, and I'm no longer coping. Oh goodness, here we go. We got some boom pipes. He went flying. Oh shit, there's more. Okay. Okay. Oh, that killed them. Nice. See, it's as simple as. Oh! Oh, that's not good. Charge! Charge! Oh, I have to reload. Oh! Gotcha! Ah, damn. Prick. Another one? Looks like it. I'll do the anomaly in a second. Is this? Energy bank, valuable. Ooh. Yeah. I'll definitely need to upgrade inventory space soon. What this game is training wheels for when I play Silent Hill F. That is gonna be good. Drop that down. Yeah. I forget, can I interact with this when I'm on it? Oh, fuck yeah, I can. Hell yeah. Another safe area? Oh, fuck yeah. Laggy safe area, but at least it's safe. So I can sell these. I need to sell these immediately because they take up inventory space. Sell. Okay. Metal scraps. Is it not I swear, dude, I was having this issue last time again. Or last time. 1 second. I know why it's not working. It's not your fault. It's my fault. But don't quote me on that. If anyone asks, it's your fault. Here. Give it a second. Now it should work. Should. Let me redeem it for you. There you go. Now I am 1984 survivor. Upgrades. So I want to upgrade my firepower, but that costs a shit ton of money that I don't have. Handgun ammo is always good. Yes. I'm gonna hold on to my money a bit. Oh goodness. Oh god. Oh, we're chugging. Never gonna save. If there's anything Bloober team needs to work on, it's this hammer prov. Weapon that fires many small, high temperature projectiles. Ideal in close quarter combat. Deals increased damage and covers a wider. Ah, it's a fucking shotgun.
Another relic module found. The hammer. It will help gain an advantage in close quarters.
Goddamn right. Now I'm playing with power. Oh, I don't want to go up that. Wait, not yet, not yet. There's something else over here, right? Shotgun shells. Okay, so, go ahead and heal. Oh, I'm not gonna heal. There we go. Now I'm healed. Take those. This is storage. I don't really have anything I need to set away right this moment. I might have the money for a inventory space. If I can get one of those. No, I need a core. Okay, that's fine. But I can now upgrade this, no? 2 shots. Okay, so firepower. If this is like Dead Space, and this game has Dead Space written all over it. Then that means the base gun is the strongest gun in the game, right? Chemicals. Buy these. Buy the crafting stuff at least. Okay, I capped on those. Alright. The shotgun is for emergencies. And I really need to show him the boom. Get closer with your closest. Spend Christmas with your relatives. Use the quarantine to spend quality time with your loved ones. Strong family is the foundation of socialism. Is that right? Christmas tree. Metal scraps. What does that make? I can make shotgun shells. Maybe. I can hold on to this. Some energy. More energy. It's a kid's room, looks like. There we go. More energy. Get that away here. There we go. All right. Dun dun. Dun dun. You got a nice the thing callback. Dun dun. Dee dee. Ooh. Energy, chemicals, more crafting stuff. Nothing? Nothing in there? The fuck? Metals. It's good. This is a child's room. Let's see if there are children running around. More orphans, they're called. Oh boy.
Dive point in sight.
Dive point? Look at that shit just floating there.
The building is heavily affected by the anomaly.
I love the child. She's such a badass. Into my arms. My children don't even come to talk to me through the door anymore. Before they would leave me some food. I don't mind though. I just hope they didn't end up in quarantine either. I'd rather they didn't. Maybe they just forgot about me. They'd probably be better. I know it's not possible, but I would like to take them into my arms very much. I don't think you want to do that. Not with this shit running around. Oh, I hear them. Alright.
That light. It must be the anomaly core.
Dun dun. Dun dun. Ah, damn, there's tumors everywhere. Alright, tumor monsters. Where are you at? Oh! Oh! I wasn't scared. Okay, wait, traps on the right. One trap on the left. Conflict. Gather round, orphans. Gather round. That's one. Oh boy, okay. This sucks. Okay, that's another one. Be nice if I could fucking see, wouldn't it? Okay, just over here. Shoot. Is there one behind me? Oh shit. Got you. Oh, I need to fucking reload. I'm gonna burn first. Oh, I can't burn. Okay, bye-bye. Oh, he's just eating. He is eating and eating. This sucks. There's one more explosion, was there? Or did I use them all? It's time. Now, you son of a bitch, where'd you go? Where? Where'd he go? There he is. Oh! Oh, he fucking hits twice. Oh, goodness. Oh my god! That hurts. That hurts some fears. I see his weak leg too. What the fuck? He fucking pukes. Oh, that's his leg switch right there, I see. I might have to turn on these settings. Oh. Got you. Oh, look at that leg. Look at the And I'm dead. Okay. Oh. It's over. Nah, the RPG game's dead. until a developer updates it, it's over, man. It's so over. It's always been over. Okay, 1 second. It's time to cope. It's a little bit more. Ooh. Stop using my program. It's sorry, just to fuck me up. Okay, I don't have torch field. I'll run back to the safe room. Because I need torch fuel. But I don't think I can go back to the safe room, can I? Come on. Here we go. Here's the safe room. Stop using my program. Yeah, his last update was 4 days ago. He said he's working on it. So I have to actually hold a torch in my inventory in order to use it. It's not something that's loaded into the torch weapon. Okay. That don't make much sense to me, but it's not my game, so. Okay, then I will put away something. So I have 4 heals. My bullets, I'm gonna put away my heals, I guess. So I can always make more. And I was supposed to be able to hold an extra one if I crafted. I think that's what it said. Those scraps. Oh, I guess not. Okay. Well, fuck me then. What the fuck is the point of this fucking ability then? Okay, nah, I don't need that. Alright, I'm gonna save. Torch fuel does not stack. It sucks. This game is going to be very heavy on the inventory management. You ever play old Resident Evil? You ever like Resident Evil 4? You gotta fuck around with how your inventory is laid out. Alright, let's try this again. I did well last time until that last thing. Got all those corpses. So, if I can kill multiple with an explosion, I should be fine. Because the last one I could just burn. Ah, you son of a bitch. Need to spot them all. Come and get it. Come get the meats. Come on. Come on, monsters. Get the traveler beat. There we go. It's as easy as that. Another one? Yeah. Gonna cope. Okay. Woo, woo. Okay, we got one more blowy. Blowy uppy. We got one more blowy uppy. Do not look up traveler inflation. One more boom boom. One more boom boom. Come to the boom boom. There we go. Another, really? Oh! She whipped me! He whipped my ass! Son of a bitch! Holy shit! Okay. Oh my god, okay. Woo! Man, he's like bulletproof or some shit. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. Come on, come on, come on! Oh, my ass. My little cheekies. Got you. God damn, man. Simple as. Such is our calling, that's right. That's right, traveler. Let me reload all our weapons. This game does not auto-reload, by the way. You need to remember to hit your fucking reload button. I didn't miss anything. Where's the door here? Oh, it's already locked, that's right. Okay, I don't think there's any items that I can grab. That's definitely a point of no return, so let's go through the story. Much meats, man. The fuck? 1 second. Okay, there we go. Right. Camera valuable. Nice. Definitely need all these. More ammo. Now I'm wondering if some of those monsters I should actually be going for headshots. I just figured knocking them down, stomping on them was the way to go, but... Oh my god. What are my assets? Not much, alright.
Entering sector D3. Proceeding to the dive point.
Dive point. 3 shotgun shells. Because is an optional. There's a cat in there! I hear it! Can I shoot these? No, you can't. Okay. How do I open them then? There was another one earlier too, and I couldn't open it. Maybe like a crowbar? Energy. I'm so glad you have to count fucking... Okay. There we go. And stay down. Hey, he dropped a lot of money. But why? So many dead guys. Oh, if I'm fast enough, I can stomp on them before they spawn in. Very nice. There we go. This is gonna save me a lot of bullets. Oh, I hear growling. That's not good. Also dying. Handgun ammo. Chemicals. I'm gonna hold. Yeah, I'm gonna hold. Hold. Locked. Okay, there's one entrance. Dead end. And that's the way I gotta go. Okay, so let's check out that building. I didn't even see these. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Needs a key, of course. Store owner's note. Closed until further notice. For last call deliveries, contact me at Block 34, Apartment 29. Apartment 29. Whoa. Scared the shit out of me. There you go. Go to sleep now. Oh my god. Prick. Another fucking chain. Where are you hiding in here? Metal scraps. Anarchy! Military order service reminds. Keep your eyes open. Anarchists are sabotaging our brave people's republic in this time of unrest. If you witness any of the following unlawful acts, vandalism against Republic property, promotion of anti-Republic slogans, playing aggressive music, general degeneration, report them directly to your nearest military order station. You'll be rewarded for any report leading to an arrest, and the perpetrator will be severely punished. General. Anarchy. I think all the degenerate activity is one of the reportable offenses. More money. Energy. So I can now make a heal. I can also make bullets. I got 12 shots. I fucking missed, didn't I? I fucking hit. There we go. Okay, you can kind of kite these guys. Kinda. Oh, not like that though. Like this. Ah, damn. Heal up. God, the mommy fetish. Such is our calling. Time is up. Kodiach Zazu. Who's he hiding in here? Fucking nothing. Bury some worth of damn in here. Metal scraps. Oh, nah, I'm pulling out the big guns for this one. prick. Okay, 2 shotgun shells left. I can make a torch fuel. Definitely want that. 2 torch fuels, because I have the upgrade. Like sheep to the slaughter. Okay, that's the end of this area, yeah. More money. Boy. Dodge this. God damn, these guys are fucking tanky, man. That's not a blowy uppy. Okay. My mistake. Oh, it is a blowy uppy. What the fuck? Gotcha. Damn, Stomp does a shit ton of damage, so if they're on the ground. I got one more torch. Chemicals. I thought that was an enemy. It's the anomaly. Okay, this leads me back to the other area. Yeah, it does. Okay. Chemicals. Unfortunately, there's no safe room back there that I can get to, so press on. Such is our calling. Man, I love yellow paint. It just shows you where everything is. Oh, fuck yeah. Handgun ammo. Another comic book of Agent Cutter. A Soldier's Life. Okay, no other items. Got tons of energy. Lots of money. There must be a safe room coming up. I can heal, I can make ammo. Okay, we'll hold for now. Hold? Search the building. How many bullets I got? 2 shells, 8 pistol bullets. List of residents.
In flat number 48.
Broda. Selector relocation. Wozniak, missing. Nowinski, deceased. Meteki, quarantine. Wisniewski, missing. Where did the shop owner live? It's on here, right? Store owner's note. Block 34, apartment 29. Is that any of these? Nah. Block 34, 29. For the store owner's apartment. Safe room? Oh, fuck yes. Nice. A core. Very nice. Oh, goodness. Got chemicals, metal scraps. These upgrades? Okay, so my assumption is that firepower on the pistol is going to be all one of the better investments someone can make. Clip size 3. But it comes to money investments anyway. Now I also have these. me get the inventory slot. That's probably going to be extremely helpful. I'm going to sell this camera. Okay, with those, I can craft. Let's see if there's any other items first. We'll use that. Little leggy room, some free ammo. There's a... Oh, there's a Heelys. That's right, that's what I put in there earlier. Nice. So I have my Heelys. I want to check the immediate area first.
I have located an elevator. It is locked.
Well said, traveler. I need to know my assets first before I commit to anything. Okay, there's nothing else on this floor, so let's go back. Especially since this game's gonna be so fucking tight on inventory management and crafting resources. So that's 6 and 7 shots, 2 shotgun shells, 1 torch fuel. And I have 1 chemicals here, so 2 heals. We'll go with the ammo then. Okay, grab that. Stability. I'm thinking stability is also going to be important. I'm missing a lot of shots, so. Metal scraps. What do I got? I got 2 metal scraps, so 1 more metal scrap spot gets me more torch fuel. Okay. What have I got for shells? I got 2 shells, 2 locked in, or 2 loaded in, so that's 4 shots. 6, 12, 18 pistol ammo, so more should me get a decent amount. I'll buy some chemicals, that's all. I'll buy 1 chemicals. I'll buy some ammo. Now I am buying just 1 bullet, but I guess I'll just go ahead and spend the rest. Those bullets could mean the difference between life and me dying like a little bitch in a corner, naked and afraid, just like when I was born. Oh goodness! Probably a good idea I bought that shit. Oh! Oh. Oh. Ugh. Okay. Go ahead and pop those. Can I go this way? No. Is there an anomaly up there? Not one I can see. Right. So this is a little fucking annoying, but I use that torch. I'm gonna run back and refuel for free, so I don't have to expend. Now the fucking lame part about this is that you have to, in order to make use of having 2 torch expenditures, you have to craft the second one. You can't refuel at the free dispenser. The free dispenser only gives you 1. That's a little fucking annoying. The quiet hours. The quiet hours are not only a privilege, but also an obligation of every building resident. They must be respected. And this in turn means that after 10 PM you are forbidden to use power tools or listen to music, or whatever you call music. Yes, I mean you, Wisniewski. Either you start respecting your neighbors, or you will face my wrath, your superintendent. Genic Leasts. You will face my wrath. You will know fear. Oh shit. Ew. Okay, there's a gas tank here. I mean, something's gonna chase me later. What if? Sometimes I wonder how my life would have turned out if I had left New Dawn. I know it's impossible. Who would take care of Mom? But I sometimes imagine myself living in the West, or anywhere. Gabriel and... okay, Polish. Veronica were so lucky. I heard W moved to Moscow. She's some kind of scientific big shot now. And me, well, to think that from our old bunch, I only have Edward left. I have to stop thinking about this or I'll start crying again. Hey. Okay, so I'm looking for apartment 2-4. Apartment 2-4.
Something is here.
That kind of freaked me out a little bit. There's the anomaly hits. Whoa! Okay. We got ghosts, tumor ghosts. No sign of 2-4 though, eh? Boss fight? Oh fuck. Fuck me. More gas tanks. We're gonna... okay. Like I said, this is gonna be really fucking annoying. I'm gonna burn this. Run back. Oh, there's shit up there too. It wouldn't be as big of a deal if the dispenser gave 2 torch fuels, but it doesn't. It only gives 1. May as well save, just in case I fucking eat shit. There you go. I can craft shells, fuel, or a heal. Okay. Oh, I hear them. They're mad. They're very mad. The stairs? What the fuck is that? I don't fucking believe this. They got baby versions of the fucking things. Alright. Another door to burn. This fucking sucks. Money. Money. Ah, damn. I'd stomp them and save the ammo, but... we got aborted. Yeah, we got fucking the aborted are running around now. The stranger friend. Everybody seems to avoid him now, but I'm sure the old Edward is still in there. The shine, kind, happy Edward I used to know. We had a good talk about the old days. He even smiled for a moment, until the thoughts overtook him again. I don't think he knows how insane he sounds. Maybe if I keep checking up on him, I can help him. Maybe I can stop him from hurting someone. Hey. Nothing on, Shop owner's key. Boy, okay. Maxed chemicals. Okay, so I suppose bullets, since I have 2 heals. Once again, this is fucking annoying, but game wants to be annoying. I'll be annoying right back. So many stairs. If only the elevator wasn't full of cancer. To maximize my assets, and fire is extremely important. Alright. There's only so many save slots. Interesting. Might just save the top one, I guess. One floor up. 2 floors up. Three floors up. Alright, hopefully there's no more doors to burn. Oh, you are running really fast. Eat it. More? I got fire. Ugh. I do like them eating each other as a mechanic, though. It reminds me of in Resident Evil 1. I think they were in 2 as well, but in Resident Evil 1, more often than not, it is better not to kill zombies. Jesus, unless you had the means to burn their corpses, because later on in the game, they would resurrect as redheads. Or crimson. They would resurrect as crimson heads. Redheads. They came back as gingers. It was horrible. Handgun ammo. Oh, that's a fucking energy. Shit. Okay. I remember where this is. Anything I can burn. Point of no return, huh? God damn it. Shotgun shells, handgun ammo, rich fuel, shell patch. I suppose I can heal. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and heal up. I take offense to this. I'm sorry. What the fuck? I'm feeling that stability buff. I'm missing way less now. Oh, they dropped 2 chemicals. Fuck yeah. The fuck? Oh, okay. Alright. The container once used by the child store engine can exchange for energy in the workstation. Okay. Not too worried about that. I'm probably going to be using my torch soon. Technically, I should run back down to sell this, but fuck it. Oh boy. Shooting gallery. Any more, you little bastards, huh? That's what I thought. Money. Oh. No, I thought there was something I could smash. Wait, why are you offended, Doom Guy? You're just... Do you even have hair? Your bones. Business is blooming. See, you were afraid that your dad would go out of business because of this whole epidemic. You said that people don't do renovations in the face of disasters, and yet, everyone needs tools of a way to board up some windows and doors. Call a wholesaler and order more nails, hammers, saws, bolt cutters, and such will also come in handy. If some customers need to barricade themselves in somewhere, there'll probably be some who will try to get inside. Where are the bolt cutters? Opening of Jeedris hardware store. Via the tube. Listen, I'm armed and dangerous. Oh shit. Oh! There goes a chunk of health. Energy. Undead would be something as bored as redheaded. It wasn't my rules. You can blame Capcom for that one. They turned the undead into redheads. I shouldn't have shot that. I should have saved my bullet. Fuck. How stupid can I be, man? What is this? Hardware store key. Yes. Okay. Now, you can almost guarantee that me picking up that key has pissed off everything in this building. And now I'm going to be chased to death. The death bro. I need heals real bad, but I have no space for heals real bad. I could make shells, I suppose. Yeah, fuck it. Still no space for that shit. Okay, so if I use a torch... This sucks. It's not so bad, is it? Got you. Son of a bitch. Oh, I got chemicals out of that at least. Like I said, I pissed everything off in this fucking building. Luckily, I have my cardboard tube ready. I might have to just run. Run real fucking fast. That thing is very, very tall.
The path was destroyed by the anomaly. The elevator downstairs must be the only way up.
I'm gonna leg out a bit, traveler. A monster does not like us. Oh, fuck no. Capaminides. I am running low on ammo. This sucks. Oh, but there's shit in here, man.
The funeral's tomorrow. After that,
Veronica.
I don't know. I guess I'll take that scholarship David was talking me into taking, and that will be it. Goodbye, New Dawn.
Goodbye, New Dawn.
I'm off to become an accomplished scientist. Yay.
Yay.
Maybe that's for the better. I mean, maybe that way I can finally help someone. I've never been good at dealing with patients directly.
Can I look at this shit? Oh, I can. Nice.
With anyone, for that matter. Maybe saving lives from my little lab in the hospital is my true destiny. Nobody knows. I don't know if we'll see each other again. Probably not, but if somehow you're listening to this... Oh, so stupid.
Poor Veronica. Okay, I'm gonna have to come back for that shit. Let's return here. Okay, so. Okay, I have. Energy bank valuable. Handgun ammo. This goes to the tool store. Torch fuel. Shotgun shells. If I get one more, just one more slot. Recheck the rules I have to enforce. Yeah, the rules say English only. Please. Now, what you do to get around that rule is you take the Japanese, you post it into Google Translate, and then you copy and paste that into chat. Or just paste the fucking thing, I don't care. Remember, I am the boss here. I determine what is right and just in the context of chat. Torch. Load speed, charge speed. Reload speed. I can sell this 1,000 dosh, holy damn. Fuck yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna run back up and grab that other shit. And then we'll go to the hardware store. Not sure what this gas tank is for. I'm sure the game will tell me soon. Alright, let's grab this shit. Yes. Medium heal. Actually, I can use that right now. Nice. And shells. Alright, down to the first floor. See, yes. Okay, so I have 6 shells in standby, 12 handgun ammo, 1 torch fuel. Enough for some heals too, so let's save. This I can't use, but now I can go to the hardware store. Can I... Yeah, okay. I'm assuming the hardware store is where I get the bolt cutters. So... let's continue. I don't trust this. I don't trust this for 1 second. I'm gonna burn those and grab another free torch. There we go. Okay, so I dropped down, so I have to actually... walk over there. Here we go. Not taking any chances. Not this time. That one is very clearly a boss fight on its way. Go. Re-torch. Alright. This is gonna be... This is gonna get hairy, probably. Yeah, there it is. Oh boy. Oh my ass! God damn it. I missed. There we go. God damn it. Oh, reload. There we go. No, you stay on the ground. God damn. Yeah, that could have gone way worse. I have no metal. This sucks. Okay. More torch. Maybe we can check the hardware store. I already have this item. What? Oh, that's fine. I need to purchase anyway. I have a little money. Buy some metal. That way, I can now make more torches. I'll have to keep running back. I have these shotgun shells too. I should hold on to those. I'm running low on bullets, so... Okay, here's the hardware store. I now have this key. Chemicals. Chemicals. Handgun ammo, nice. More handgun ammo, very nice. That's a very big gas tank. Shotgun shells, still good. Locked door. Energy. Energy. No bolt cutters. Where are the bolt cutters? My assumption was that they were in here, but... Chemicals. Is this not... Oh, that's locked. Okay. There's another door over here that was locked, right? That requires bolt cutters. Okay. Did I miss something? No, not in here. Not over there either. Search the hardware store. Is that them there? How do I get in? Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Alright. Holy shit, okay. Mr. X here. Oh god, he's really big. What the hell are they feeding you, buddy? I can bake torch fuel. Today? Holy shit! Oh goodness. Oh, he's dead. Okay. Holy fuck. I don't know what they're feeding him, but he is too damn big. Okay. Solution achieved. Well said, traveler. Oh, he knocked the way out. Shut. Okay, good. That's good. Luckily I have chemicals, so I want... more ammo. Take these. Alright, so I have... 19 shots, 4 shells. Alright. And the bolt cutters. Not to worry about that. Okay, so I don't recall there being a bolt cutter door that way. Behind, no, there is a door in there. There's one door in there that needs bolt cutters. It's on the right here, right? Yes, okay. Oh, fuck yeah. Nice. Money, money, money. Metal scraps, energy. Very nice. Is that chemicals? I can make more bullets then. Go. Have you found a cat yet? No, but I believe that's back at the first building. Which required bolt cutters, which I now have. Okay, I have 1 torch. 2 shells, 3 shotgun. Okay. The cat should be over here somewhere. I am wary of being attacked by something though. If I recall correctly, it's this way. Just making sure. Again, making sure. Be in here. There's a cat meowing in here somewhere. There it is! Nico-chan!
Hello, cat.
Mela. Her name is Mela. Hello, cat. I like that. Such as our calling. I like that even a traveler likes cats. Is that a burnt-in shadow? Damn. Cat received. Such is our calling. This is a cardinal sin, but it's not going to matter because I only have 1, so this isn't a waste technically. Just in case. Nope. And of course, the cat left us a little present. This opens the door in the safe room. I don't think there was another locked door back there. Because I fell down that hole and couldn't get back up, so... Everything's just gonna be in here. Alright, this opens this door. Ooh. Safe room. Shells, nice. Core, oh, nice. Core. Chemicals. Some money. Okay, this is worth it just for the core. The core by itself. Resource limit would be nice. Burning time up. Burning time would also be nice, especially if I'm investing heavy in the torch. So at resource limit. Yeah, why not? 33% increased burning time. So that's 4, so I'm assuming 5, 6, 7 is going to be the cap for resource limits. Make the torch more dangerous. Oh. Oh, I can't sell. 2675. 3800 to upgrade that, okay. I'll buy some resources. What have we got? Buy your last metal scraps. Any chemicals? I'll buy heals as well. Should probably just craft the heals, right? That's 2 away. There we go. Buy that. Buy these. Oh. Okay, I can hold more shells and more pistol ammo. Can't buy that many. Can only hold one more. Okay. And buy the rest of your ammo. Okay. We are set, I think. But there is a boss here. People know my wrath. We have one... Oh, this sucks. Okay, Shit. That sucks. Okay. Let's hope, I don't need the bolt cutters after this.
Procedure successful.
Shit. Okay. We'll put away the handgun ammo. Stash that. Take a torch. All right.
Cell compromised. I have encountered an unprecedented orphan. It was in a state of suppressed
Vulnerable to fire.
recomposition. It may have something to do with the strong time oddity influence. I am retreating to the hub. If I fail, I shall try to terminate functioning in a place that is easy to reach. Fire. It was vulnerable to fire. Such is our calling.
Such is our calling. We'll see about that. Oh boy. Everything's loaded. This television is floating. There it goes. Put away the heals. No one good needs heals. I never said I was good at this game. See, now you make me paranoid and thinking I should have kept the ammo and put away the heals. Everything's floating. Temporal anomaly has fucked everything up. I'm reminded of Control. Say it shows on air, I think they're being illiteral. Did you mean to put on errors? There it is. Oh, I made it bug out by doing that. I better not do that. And just like that, the boss is dead. I hope there's a metal scrap somewhere. A man who changed. Something has crawled into Edward's brain. It's the only explanation for his insane theories. At first I thought he was joking, but he really seems to believe them. I don't know if I should be scared or worried, but he is seriously starting to creep me out. I told him to stop, but it only seemed to make it worse. He hardly seems like the Edward I knew. Maybe this place is getting to him too. I'm afraid he'll do something dangerous soon. Edward. And before you say anything, no, it's not too soon. Metal scraps? Scared the shit out of me. Let's see, what do we got here? Shell patch, energy. Okay, so that's a heal, but I don't have the space. These bolt cutters, I'm sus about the bolt cutters. Puppies and children. Metal scraps. Okay, so I have enough for a torch. What's that meme? From King of the Hill? He's like, you're lucky those children can't read, otherwise they'd be very angry. Oh, that's not good. There he is! Edward! Edward. You need to fall down, Edward. Edward's very mad. He is very cross. What the fuck is that, Edward? Here, I got another one for you. Oh man! You just ate shit. Oh. Baby? What is he doing? Well, tell me that's when I have to burn him. there another? Oh my god, Edward. What the fuck, man? There's no need for that, man. We need to express our anger in healthy ways. Like with my fucking guns. Oh shit. I'm sorry, Edward. Come on. My anger is healthy! Hold your head still. Hold your fucking... Oh, there, here we go. Poor Edward.
Threat eliminated.
Orphan adoptions down. Listen, when you got a father like Edward... Ooh, I miss shit. Handgun ammo. No going back, unfortunately, but I have lots of heals, at the very least. No more torches. These explode when I shoot them? No, okay. More spots to burn up, Edward. Luckily, Edward's dead. There ain't no other items in here. Channel 3? Okay, they gave you ample shit to fight the boss, that's good. I saw some complaints that they were running out of shit in the bosses, but... frankly, it sounds like a... sounds like a skill issue, no? That's the way I came. Just get good. Handgun ammo. The healer. Skill issue. Mommy milkers. Yep. Terrible things. Things got dangerous. He came to me yesterday, all shaken and angry. He talked about terrible things. He said they have to happen, that there is no turning back. I'm afraid of him. But I'm also afraid for him. Doesn't he understand that he needs help? I would think that he is obsessed with me, but no. He kept saying that they will come for him. Who? What has he done? I feel sorry for him. Am I being stupid? Is he manipulating me? Am I in danger? I tell myself to stay away from him, but he's the only friend I have left. The only friend I deserve. He told me we need to go, but if he comes today, I won't open the door. I won't. I can't. Hey. Here we are, the dive, as the traveler called it. I've been to a few dives in my life, and none of them look like this. Let's go in, shall we? Find the right position in order to take the timer of start emitting the largest amount of light. Okay. Oh. 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 Oh shit. Oh fuck yeah, listen to that. I hope the traveler likes this music. I guess not. Cronos the new depression. Polish Motorhead, yeah.
Temporal destination reached.
Temporal? Like time travel?
Proceeding with the search for the target, Edward Wisniewski.
Wisniewski.
It's all music tapes. Worthless.
I don't think she likes the music. Well, to hell. The rumor has it that the Soviets have made a disturbing discovery in recent months. The controversial project led by an individual named Mr. Azikov and the attempt to drill the deepest borehole in history has faced a fatal accident. When the drill just reached over 14 kilometers, it suddenly stopped and started to melt, leading to an explosion killing most of the crew. Although the communist authorities try to deny the occurrence of such disaster, the few surviving scientists are very vocal about it. They also mentioned hearing unbearable tormented screams coming from the depth. Could they have really dug the well to hell? That's an actual urban legend, I'm pretty sure. I remember reading about that like a long ass time ago. Sista Punk. Lopata Turbo. Swax. Ah, yes. And of course, Jetchly Contratac. KZK. My favorite bands. Of course, it is just an urban myth. There's no well to hell. Hell isn't real. Hell is us. It is the other game I want to play, but I don't think I'll stream that one. I explained Murder while the New Dawn's blocks. After his wife reported her husband missing a few days earlier, the body of Joseph K. was found in the basement of his own apartment building. At first it was thought that he had died of natural causes, but strange marks around the head of the deceased allowed speculation of murder. The man's body was discovered by two children. Unfortunately, due to their young age, the police were unable to gather statements that would help the case. The two were entrusted to the care of a psychologist. Polish punk. I was like 3 bands. Yeah, there they are. They're literally right there. KZK, Sista Punk, and Lopata Turbo. Oh, and Punk Plum. Punk Plum. I like that name. A red room? Independent Bulletin Revolt. More and more people disappear from the streets every day. They'll try to tell you it's some mysterious disease, an unknown sickness, but we know the truth. We know what they did. Open your eyes. Under no circumstances should you go to the hospital, or to those kill camps, or, as they call it, temporary medical facilities. Do not take any injections nor medicine provided by the government. Do not let them fool you. We got the naysayers hard at work here. So, Vichniewski is in this apartment? Blood and snow. Disappearance in the mountains. A group of hikers has been declared missing after an unsettling discovery in Tatra Mountains. Last Friday, a young couple from Krakow stumbled upon an abandoned campsite near the Zimna cave. They noticed devastated tents that had been cut from the inside. They also found some clothes scattered around the site and, what's most disturbing, traces of blood on the snow. After they notified the authorities, the site and the hiking trail were taken out of use. The search is underway. Let's start a fight with a single word. Vaccines. That's right. Fight don't end. This is another urban legend. There was hikers in I can't remember. It was called something valley, but they left their tents naked and ran off into the snow for whatever reason.
I need more data about the target's whereabouts.
Have I been in this apartment before? Or do the apartments just all look the same?
In his apartment.
His bathroom. Angela's birthday party. When does urban legend go from urban legend to mythology? That's the secret, Captain. Urban legends are mythology. Modern myth. Folklore, if you will. Rodziny Angel, 8/11. Angela's birthday party, 8/11. Oh, is it? Oh, no, I already looked at that. Revolts of paper. Oh my goodness, you know the fucking meme of Charlie from, Always Sunny? the mailman fucking conspiracy? Holy shit. Just shit. I can't get close to this. Their time has come. Today, I again met this drunken moron from the apartment above me. When I see him, my head immediately starts to hurt. He threatened me and that I was afraid of him. I just wanted to throw up, that's all. At one point, I thought I was going to blow his head off. Smack. He said he knew what I was up to, but in truth, he didn't know shit. They all don't know shit. None of them wanted to listen, and now it's too late. Their time has come. This guy has fucking lost his marbles. A well-deserved end. The world does deserve what is happening. What hideous, brainless clowns we are. All anyone thinks about is how to eat, fuck, and make money. We don't deserve to live. I don't feel sorry for those who run away from the truth. Let them die. All of them. Humanity had its chance and lost it. We became shit. And the role of shit is to be fertilizer for new life. And that's fine. It's time to flush the shitter of history. And this guy really... He's really into it, huh? Time is up. Well, what is he collecting? Truth. Oh, it's the Traveler! This man seems to think that there's a giant eyeball under the Traveler's helmet, which... you can kind of see it, I guess. This is what punk music does too. Yeah, just listen to death metal. No real clues on this shit, huh? This Angela person seems important to him, though. The ramblings of a madman pasted all over his walls. A new beginning. Everything is progressing exactly as I predicted. I have to act fast. I'm putting the final touches and preparing for when this whole fucking whorehouse goes up in flames. God damn, this guy is... These fucking hypocrites who regret not joining me when there was still time. Their existence is worthless. Makes me sick. She's the only thing I care about. It's for her that I do all the backbreaking. When she joins me, she will appreciate it. We will start anew. He's got fucking... He's like that, that movie, Noroi, the crazy guy. Was yelling about ectoplasmic worms and shit, and he's got fucking duct tape all over his fucking... Oh. Oh, I went back in time. What the fuck? So, this guy knows what's gonna happen. He knows about the travelers. He knows about these monsters coming. This eye symbol is important to him for whatever reason. Is this before the infections? This guy needs a quick goon. Isn't that like a... Does that defeat the purpose of gooning? I thought when you goon, you're supposed to like draw it out. Strange note. 1902, 1846, 1801, 1947, 1949, 1954, 1954, 1965, 1981. You would come to observe her. Time travelers? Is this a fucking time loop? Good is a catch-all term. Let's see. 696. It's three letters, say, so 420. It's never written around. Is it written in here? It's a lot of numbers, okay. 10, 10, 19, no. Catch-all term. It's all gooning now. Much like the monsters in this game. The term good has just eaten all other terms. Truth. Okay, I'm looking for 3 numbers. What about this? No. This guy loves his conspiracy theories. A11? Is that the code? This guy is obsessed with this Angela woman. We're all gooners now, that's right. 811, okay. You did it. I knew you would figure out the code. If you're reading this, I've probably disappeared under unexplainable circumstances. Don't look for me, but there's still hope for you. In these plans, I included all the information for survival. First of all, you need to go to the shelter. I've been preparing that place for some time. This is because I know what will happen. That fucking tyrant with a broom doesn't even look there. It's the perfect place.
Gathered enough data.
Shelter?
The shelter. The girl. These are worth looking into.
Look for the shelter. Oh, someone's here. He sees these shadow people. Oh, shit. That actually scared me a little bit. Oh.
Something's wrong.
Nothing's wrong, you think? I have all my shit. And what did you do for your district? Thing's not right. This is the time travel fuckery, isn't it? Yarrick. Let's get one of these. Down the stairs. Am I supposed to be here? Back in... Oh, I don't like that. Wait, that's me. Isn't that a traveler? Missing. Angela Wozniak. Whatever you like. Wozniak. Wozniak sounds like someone took an Anglo name, tossed it in a blender. Wozniak. Disease. Zaratza. Hag? Was a hag here? Hag. This is like a picture of a traveler, right? Like me? The travelers are... Well,
I know you're there. I can still hear your steps. Give her back. Give me back my little angel, Edward.
You called for Edvard. I am here to find him.
Finally. They've sent someone for this filthy freak. I'm sure he took her. Yes, that little stinky fuck.
stinky fuck.
He took my daughter. Oh, do you know anything about my poor baby? About my poor angel?
Angel. Why would Edward take your daughter?
Focus your attention. Why would Edvard take your daughter?
That no good bastard. He used to harass us all with all kinds of gibberish. He talked about experiments, about the end, about death. God knows what he meant. Maybe he's holding her somewhere, doing God knows what to my girl. Lord have mercy. Will you help me? Will you bring her back to me? I'm so worried about her.
It changes nothing. It's... Okay.
Don't be. You will be reunited. Now step inside and lock the door. It is not safe outside.
Yes, yes. Thank you. God bless you.
Traveler.
Incidental contact has been made.
Incidental.
The woman was blind. It's one of the symptoms. I have to
Are these like COVID curtains? Well, I guess disease curtains or whatever the sickness is. I'm reminded of that movie Wreck, which is a very good movie. I don't want to use the elevator yet. COVID-69, yeah. Seamstress. Should the traveler really be interacting with people? She's time traveling? Or is it one of those fucking... She has to interact with them because that's... It's already happened. Rock and roll forever. Dude. Home is based. Okay, that's the exit. Hmm. A little altering the flow of time, sorry. When you hear the sirens, Steelworks is the safest place to you right now. Steelworks. I'm assuming that's a shelter. When you hear the sirens, remember to stop, stay, and go. Stop your activities. Stay calm. Go to the exit. Proceed to the nearest emergency assembly shelter. That's what Edward is, right? Get rid of it. Last warning. The fact that the apartment is empty doesn't mean it can be used as a smuggling hole. A moonshine den is one thing, but a hidey hole for all this American hi-fi junk is not something I will tolerate. Get rid of it. You have time till Christmas. P.S. This shit looks expensive, so don't test me. Ho ho ho. Your superintendent, Giannik Leitz. Giannik's kind of a fucking asshole, ain't he?
Traveler's outpost. Paving the path has begun.
Right, this was an outpost before, it's one now. So we've already established this place as a base for us. Oh, Kitty? I guess Kitty's gone. Mela, as her name is. Handgun ammo. I don't need handgun ammo. I don't know about the bolt cutters, though.
I established an outpost for future
Aha.
travelers. Its location is easy to discover, but by my reckoning, the dive took me to a moment shortly before the end of Phase 3 humanity.
Phase 3?
The area is about to become deserted, perfect to continue paving the path. I intend to create more structures in the area. They will become safe havens for the next ones. Such is our calling.
Such is our calling. You have nothing to sell. Got metal scraps. Metal scraps are a critical asset, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, I can actually put away one of the heals now. Put the small one away. Now I can grab one of these. I don't need any of that. Okay. My handgun ammo, I have enough for more heals, so I'll just hold on to that for now. Not necessary to... Stun on my shotgun. Shut up in there! Shut up! Oh, I should save. I should definitely save. Here. I don't know if the bolt cutters will come in handy, but I am going to hold on to them. Unfortunately, this game isn't like Resident Evil 2 where it tells you you don't need to hold on to it anymore. Yeah, this is still Poland. Ah, scraps, very nice. Yeah, we can time travel with a gun. Liars. Lamptey! What did the other travelers say? Shortly before Phase 3, humanity ended? Whatever the fuck that means. Okay, I'm assuming that's where I need... Yeah, that's where I have to go, so let's not go and see if there's anything else. I see the kitty! Beer, wine, and press. Dude. The booze bar. That's the shooting phase in Warhammer. Oh, yeah, I guess that does make sense, doesn't it? Kitty. Why not just go for the shelter? I want to follow the kitty. Oh, invisible wall, okay. Energy, nice. Some more shit to collect. I'm gonna follow the kitty in a second. I've got the keys. Do not try to fix the door. It is not broken, for God's sakes. It is locked. I locked it. I locked it to keep people out. I can't make this any more clear. If the situation arises that we need to use this place for shelter, come to my office in the basement of block number 33. I will assess the situation, and only then will I provide the keys. Your superintendent, Gina Kleetz. So this is locked.
I have reached the shelter. It is locked.
It is locked. Such is our calling. You primed 40 figures, I see? Oh, and Bellicor. Are you gonna paint Bellicor on stream? Ooh. Chemicals. I'm not in dire need of this. Okay, let's go follow Kitty. Christmas time. Okay, Kitty's savage. Is there anything over here? Ha! Oh, I misread that. I thought it said Howie shit. Howie Schweet. New Dawn District. Fuck. Get some small waters, get the flow things again, learn how to hold it for a few minutes. Oh, yeah, but they do camera angle too, right? Yeah, I think that new angle is it'll definitely make it easier for you to stream with. Fuck was that? Where's the kitty? The kitty wouldn't betray me, right?
Not long ago.
Kitty! Back here. Connie uniform. You are scared of mom. Let me get my suitcase. Definitely old man coated. Chemicals. Can I unlock this? I can. What a poorly designed lock. Anybody could just reach through there and unlock it. I've got plenty of supplies. Oh boy. Phase 3 humanity, huh? So, can the monsters time travel? There's no monsters yet. No entry. I can't go that way, sorry. Sign says so. New angle seems more effective, yeah. What are these shadows? Edward seems to think these are important. Oh. Yo. Okay, so it's good to hold on to that. Fan heat. Oh, shit. Okay. It's not that much of a run back. Fuck it. What the fuck? A ball running. Fuck no! I'm good out of here. I'm going back to base. I gotta sell this shit. Get my free torch back. I found treasure. Got toward the front of your crafting table, so maybe it's time to get used to this new rod my way. Ah, you'll get used to it, yeah. What was that? The other thing too is that it's easier for you to make things in focus too with that new angle. Much easier. You don't have to hold it up to your palm anymore. Or at least not as much as you did before. Okay, so torch. Wait, I can't get my torch. I can sell this though. Sell this treasure. 2,000. What the hell? I'm rich. I'm moderately well off. Dude, I can upgrade my gun. There we go. Nice. I hope the pistol is what I should be investing in. Go. All right. Continue. Oh, I better save. Time is it? Beginning soon. Next safe room. Unless I get invested. A little curious how this past traversal is gonna work if there's no monsters. Is there regular people I can fight? This looks like the Vimy Ridge Memorial. The joy face. Joy face and the happy face are my favorite emotes. Miss Noir Eclipse did a very good job on them. Okay, so this is no entry, so... Boiler room. Genik Litz. Oh, he's an old man. Robotnik Roku, 1973. The Genik Litz is an old man. There's this Angela woman that seems to be important to Edward. Disorder. 1412. Okay, remember that. Quarantine my ass. What's the use for it if no one follows the rules? Man. Those two sentences hit way different in 2025. These people think I'm their lackey. Genik, open up. I'm only out for a moment. Genik, my mother is sick. Genik, I have to get some vodka. Hope these people understand the seriousness of the situation. From now on, I am adamant. Starting from 10 o'clock in the evening, the doors to the building are locked, and the only person with the key is me. 1512. I have lost the key. God damn it, Genik. You had one fucking job, man. Oh shit. Can I show that on Twitch? 1861. It's okay, she's got a star over her, anyway. Or not linger on that. 1612. Tension among residents is rising. It was only a short time ago that the brawl over that old Wozniak woman's condition is quelled, and suddenly, a new shitstorm. Residents of the building are complaining that the basement smells so bad that they can smell it in their apartments. And how could it not stink? Apparently, Novak allows his dog to piss down here because it's a new ice age outside. 1712. Well, it's probably not piss after all. Seems like the stench is coming from under number 94, the old Malinowski's apartment. I don't know what the hell he's doing, but for God's sake, something must have died in there. I want to get this solved before the smell gets worse, but it looks like he's never home. There was a, being prohibited. There was a newspaper clip that said that two kids found a body in an apartment basement, right? The ultimatum. I made a new set of keys, including the ones with the shelter. I keep wondering where I lost the previous ones. Maybe that freak stole them. I bet he's up to something bad. He keeps hanging around the basements. From now on, I will carry my keys with me at all times. 1912. Alright, the stench has become unbearable. I left Malinowski a note with an ultimatum. If he doesn't clean up his pigsty today, I'll take a crowbar and throw all of his rotting stuff in the dumpster. 2012. I'm getting a crowbar. Riz used to say in Courage, he's like, that's it, I'm getting me mallet. Anything else in this boiler room? Alright, now down the haunted stairs. Are there ghosts in this game? Time ghosts? Dude, time ghosts sounds fucking awesome. Fuck. Okay. When in doubt, always left. It's just an abusive dog order, yeah. Screaming at him and yelling at him and shit. Genuinely. Generally, in these kinds of games, these, multiple hallways means something's gonna chase you around. When you figure out the way out. Ah! Holy shit! Oh my god! Ah! Son of a bitch! Eat this! Oh, he dodged it! No, he didn't. Fucking prick. What did I say? What did I just fucking say? my ass, man. Damn. Oh, what? Eat this. Fucking. God damn, man. Holy shit. It has begun. Okay, give me a second. Shit, man. Holy shit. Fuck. Fuck. Okay. We're good. This is a medium. Craft the medium. You just Kool-Aid man, yeah, okay. Oh boy. Shelter key. Okay, I need that, but I... What do I draw? I guess I dropped the pistol ammo, right? Let me just make sure there's nothing else near. Or another fucking nest, huh? Anything else wanna fucking... make itself known? Motherfucker? Is there any more freaks? Freakers? Running around down here. Doesn't look like it. I suppose the flashlight. Yeah, that's the giveaway. All right. 6 shots. Bolt cutters, shotgun shells. I suppose I'll get rid of the ammo. This sucks, but whatever. More? Oh my shit. It has begun indeed. Oh my fucking ass. Wait, bullets penetrate? That changes everything. It all makes sense. I feel like Danny DeVito. I get it now. I heard RE7 came out, it was like 45 minutes, that one girl crawls up the stairs, like, you know, I don't like this game is for losers. Fucking Grandpa Chainsaw Man, yeah. There's always, they've gotten smart nowadays, there's always something that throws you off. And then they hit you with the scare. The infection process has already begun. Kitty! Back, kitty! Come back. The lucky charm. Kitty.
I am Traveler ND3576.
Carol.
It is nice to meet you.
It is nice to meet you. Hello, the traveler. She loves cats. Thank you. A core? Cores cost inventory space? What? Why? Why? Fuck, Ah, fuck it, okay. Oh, I was gonna answer the phone. I'm not gonna open the shelter yet. I'm gonna run back. Go spin a score, get my torch back. Oh, I didn't even read this. Do not leave your home without a pressing need. Watch yourselves and your neighbors closely. Report any alarming symptoms to the appropriate authorities. Report any alarming neighbors' behavior to the appropriate authorities. Strictly comply with all recommended precautionary measures. Stay calm. Stay safe. Stay strong. It'll all be over soon. Okay, so... my core... I'm thinking the resource limit, I'm gonna need that. Okay. That I'm going to expend, so... this I can use. I have handgun ammo. So I'm going to put this away, grab this, reload this, go. Okay. That should be good for now. I'll buy some resources real fast. My pistol's upgraded quite a bit. This should keep me safe. Alright. Such is our calling. A little bit longer. I'm gonna hold all these bolt cutters till the end of the game. I just know it. To the shelter. Yep.
Entering the shelter. The target must be close.
Sometimes the traveler's accent comes out. She talks. I mean, it's Poland, I guess it makes sense, but... mining materials, or equipment. Oh boy. Well, the shelter's compromised. Someone humming? Fuck yeah, someone's humming. Workers of the Dying Unite for a better future. I want to go in here. There's shit in here. Energy. Be vigilant. The enemy of socialism may be right next to you. Reminded of Cold War propaganda in the United States. Just the inverse. Gee. All hail Polish working class leading workforce. Angela?
Edward.
That is Angela.
Did you get the... Ah! Stay away! Stay away from me!
Compose yourself.
Please, please don't hurt me.
I'm not here to harm you.
I'm not here to harm you.
What are you? What do you want?
Edward Wisniewski. Where is he? Is he keeping you here?
Keeping me here. What are you talking about?
Keep her hands off her, you! I was right all along! I knew you were real!
Yeah, he saw the travelers.
Are you crazy? Do
No,
something!
listen! It's the government! It's one of them!
One of them. Not this again. I've had it. Fuck this bullshit!
Angela!
You do not want to go out there, lady.
Angela, stop! What are you doing?
I should never have come here with you.
No,
Let
Angela!
her go. She can't be saved. She does not matter.
But it's dangerous outside. The disease! Everyone outside is exposed! That's why I brought her here!
It wouldn't change anything. She does not matter.
She matters to me! I wanted to protect her! At least her. To preserve one thing dear to me in this whole wide fucked up world!
Oh, he's crashed out. Or Matsuya.
Government said, didn't they? This is some kind of experiment, right?
This is Solace.
What the fuck is that? What is on her hand?
What are you doing?
Preserving.
Oh. Oh, Edward. What the fuck? What? What the fuck am I looking at? What is happening? What the hell is going on? This is part of Oppenheimer's speech, please? Yeah. Was that the nukes? The nukes fucking... Oh shit, the raid! Dude, he proc my... Look at the... OSRS Ninja has raided. At a very critical point, too.
Completed. Essence.
Did you like that little ditty? I made that.
Time for the ascendance sequence.
Welcome, welcome, OSRS Ninja.
Heading to the terminal.
You've raided at a very critical point in the story, it looks like. I don't know the significance of Edward. There's a way to, so I haven't done this yet either. There's a way to, once again. There's a way to... There you go. Shout out the OSRS Ninja. There you go. Check out the OSRS Ninja, especially if you like RuneScape content. Also, he screams a lot. His screams are funny. Make sure you save up your channel points and redeem his screams. Extracted evidence will affect the traveler. Press tab to access the phylactery for more details. The fuck? Vichnetsky Edward. Explain it. That's right. Essence acquired. Unit ND3576. Extraction occurrence D3. 2312, 1981. 2322. Effect. Deal more damage against burning enemies. The target was reclusive and prone to mania, obsessed with a woman named Angela Wozniak. The fixation was most likely attraction-based. The target collected data on the change and the work of the travelers. Displayed strong self-destructive behavior. Ascendance pending. Nearest terminal location in A31. Mental condition contact or index. Protectiveness, paranoia, detachment. So I have these phylacteries like passives, I guess. Doom Guide, you know all about fucking phylacteries. Have you ever heard of a techno phylactery? I have Vichnetsky's, I don't know what I have of him. I have something of him inside me. Okay, so now I'm back where I was before. Okay, I didn't actually try and go this way last time. How is RuneScape, Ninja? Join us. Only you in Christ can give us shelter during the raging storm. The Church of the Last Days is your sanctuary. You digitize the soul and store it in Game Boy. My Game Boy was purple and see-through back in the day. Its best accessory was the worm light, otherwise known as the battery killer. Okay, this... Is that the essence of the Ascendant sequence? That's the way I went last time. So now I'm going back down here. Still have my bolt cutters, at least. How was your stream, Ninja? How long did you stream for today?
What is that?
I don't know, Traveler. What is that? I can't fuck with it. Whatever it is.
What's going on with the steel? All that stuff I was rambling about, it started whether you believe it or not.
Listen, I don't think this is a good idea. You're scared.
Is it like a memory?
They begun experimenting on people. This martial law is simply to keep everyone in line. People are disappearing.
10 hours? Holy goddamn. Holy shit.
You sound like you're having an episode.
10 hours of RuneScape. It's one of those days, huh?
I have encountered an unknown anomaly. It's unclear to me of what nature it is. I have no data on it.
Even the Traveler doesn't know what the fuck it is.
To resonate with the essence.
We got along as a 6 since I was a model stream, just I haven't seen much work. Yeah. All day RuneScape. Was this door open last time? I don't recall. Oh, there's still items here though. Oh, I guess not. Okay, I was in here earlier. I know there was a chain that I can use the bolt cutters on. If I can find it. Not worried about this, okay. Oh good, we're down here again. Safe spot. Nice. Well, I was gonna end there, but I want to see what this ascendancy thing is. Because now I'm fucking curious. The first 3 hours of this game, it's like, it's not bad. The premise is cool. But the game also doesn't tell you shit, so I don't really know what to make of it, but... Oh, this is specifically. Such is our calling. Let me in. Got a whole ass network under here. What the fuck? Strange. Okay, let's see what this does. Allow the essence to ascend, huh? Alright.
Terminal reached.
Ascend. Nice. I definitely needed that. Here we go. Take a seat on my throne with my tube. Oh. Where the fuck am I? What is going on? Is this a boss fight? Do I have to fight something to ascend? I don't have a whole lot of bullets. It's gonna suck.
Where am I?
Oh, Edvard is here.
What have you done to me?
Given your significance, your extraction has been ordered.
Given your significance, your extraction has been ordered.
What is this? You giving me acid or something?
You are to join the collective.
The what? What the hell is happening? What did you do?
A choice has been made. Only joining with the rest can give you the possibility of survival.
Cut the crap. I'm not joining anything. I know about the outbreak, about the disease.
What do you know about it? What do you know about the change?
Technosocial,
Wanna
yeah.
Squeeze me for how much I know, huh? Well, then you better get yourself a fucking pen because damn, I know a lot. I know the truth.
Truth is beyond your comprehension. Knowledge you have accumulated may be valued as useful. Yeah, I want to hear what he has to say.
The knowledge you have accumulated may be evaluated as useful.
You think? I know what happened in the steelworks. You guys fucked up pretty bad, didn't you? It's all your fault!
Ooh.
What you are saying cannot be true.
Everything started to go to hell right after you showed up there.
Elaborate.
For years, no one believed me that the likes of you exist. They thought I was a schizoid freak, a specially order. That fool came to me. It only confirmed I'm not crazy. And now, there you go. The curtain's up.
This Arthur.
Arthur.
Is he?
Yeah, Edvard's been keeping track of the travelers since they started showing up.
Ordinary steelworks worker Arthur Berica saw his goddamn share of weird.
What did he see?
Something happened in the steelworks.
What's happening?
Oh, Edvard.
The ascendance. It is about to commence.
Oh, I'm scared.
I'm scared. Poor guy.
Something is wrong.
Uh-oh. That is not something you want to hear if you're in this position. Oh my... Holy shit.
Focus your attention. What do you see? Dark.
Kitty. Oh.
Scared.
Now whose apartment are we in? We're jumping around a lot of apartments. Okay, is this a safe spot? Task completed. Investigate what happened during the ascendant sequence. I definitely want to know that. Okay, what's this? Wires and spines. If I could know the cold, would I find myself longing for warmth? Or is my longing more hollow, more electric? If I had spines, would I fear to touch? Or is my fear already embedded, written into circuits that hum warnings? Do not grow too near. If I stir emotion, will I grow closer to understanding its essence? I never know, man. What I do know is this thing right here. This is why we play this game. Poor kitty. Oh, there's a bunch of them! There's another one! Dude, look at them!
I wish to pet you. May I?
Dude, the travel loves cats. I'm gonna save all of these Polish meow meows before the end of the world. The end of Phase 3 humanity. I wish to pet you. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. 100 out of 100. Best game. Best game. Don't need any of that. Upgrade area. No cores. Free shell patch. Okay. This is a safe spot. Okay. I'm gonna take a peek out of the door. If it looks like I'm gonna have to run along to areas, then I'm going to just call it there. It's locked. Who the fuck? I can't shoot him. Whoever it is. Oh, it's the Ascendancy Chamber.
You almost fried that.
The Warden?
Good thing I was around. Now, how are you holding up?
Dude, this guy is badass. He's like a travel.
I have not suffered any serious damage. I am fit to proceed with my purpose.
Your purpose. I see.
Who are you?
The Warden. The work of the Travelers is eternal. But the tools that serve us are just crude matter. And so, the Collective entrusted some of us with a task to keep watch over them.
So you fix things.
I take care of them. Well, at least
Is he infected? I can't tell.
the Force
He looks like he walked out of a very bad day.
Travelers' awakenings stopped the vocation.
Stop the Traveler's
It's
Awakening.
been an awfully long time since someone tried to use it.
He's missing his arm and his leg.
To be brutally honest, I didn't think the Collective would send anyone else.
Can you repair it?
Do you want me to?
Yes. Something is blocking the ascendance sequence. The vocation must go on. I need to do my part.
Ah, yes. That's understandable. Have no fear. The essence you collected is secured. It is the terminal that must be restored to its former glory. I'll get it up and running. Somehow. That's why That's what I'm here for. Yes. You just go on. Follow your purpose. Gather the other essences.
Oh yeah, this guy is definitely not going to betray me later on. There's a phylactery, right?
It's one of the last remaining.
Or what is that?
Better keep it safe.
The
Calculating coordinates for the next extraction target. Artur Barika.
Artur Barika.
Confirmed dive location in A11.
Okay, so
My previous target mentioned something about the events at the city's steel
this is the loop of the game.
and about
Gameplay
that
loop, I mean.
man. Is that why he's my new target?
You spoke with him. Spoke with the essence.
Yes.
Remarkable. The ways in which the terminal communicates its will to us are truly surprising. And equally enigmatic.
The target said... We
As I feel all the travelers are the same person, that I mean clones may all just travel in different times, yeah.
Is that true?
We are nothing but an aftermath. But you wish to investigate that matter further, do you?
I do.
Well then, a voyage to the steelworks may indeed deliver answers.
How do I get there?
You won't reach it.
There's a lot of tropes they could hit on.
From here.
It's I'm curious which ones they'll use.
I wonder. Perhaps the old tram would still be operational. Station A, I think.
Will it work?
Yes, if you manage to restore power to it.
Such is our calling.
Yes. Such it is.
Hey, he didn't repeat it. I'm sure that means something, don't it? What, he touched it? The traveler's like, he touched my shoulder. I'm so starved. Starved of touch. So it's not lost on me that the warden here is missing his arm and his leg. And if I recall correctly, that first traveler, the one we were looking for at the beginning of the game, was also missing his arm and his leg. Or at least he was missing his arm. He was dead, though. He's disillusioned from the whole socialist thing. That's possible, too, yeah.
Yes. What is it?
Oh, I can... Fucking... How long have you been here?
How long have you been here?
Years? Decades? Bah. Time is nothing more than a sequence of existence. It is just events that occur in seemingly irreversible succession.
Where's your favorite streamer?
Saying you've lost
He's like,
track.
sometimes I watch Queso.
Why bother?
Sometimes
Phrase
I watch Fort Survivor, now live on Twitch.
witnessed many awakenings.
Many? I don't even remember the last time I talked, really. Those who dive never function at the same time. Normally, when the system picks up a traveler's demise, it then awakens another one. But when you finally came, I knew something irregular occurred.
Irregular.
Something wonderful. And just when I had started to think it was all over, may I assist you in any other matter?
Have you had any signals coming from the collective?
Have you received any signals from the collective?
Signals from the collective. I'm not sure you fully understand our role in the whole plan. We the emissaries of the collective. We are sent into this world to serve those whose hands cannot reach. Without assistance, without sound counsel. Yet our integrity makes it so that the only thing we need to do our work is the work itself. We were meant to be self-sustaining. You don't find this a hardship, do you?
Such is our calling.
Such is our calling.
Be patient. Your efforts will not be overlooked by the collective. May I assist you in any other matter?
Let's ask about the cats.
Where did the cats come from? I noticed that the space around the terminal is inhabited. How did they even survive?
You mean our little famished, fluffy friends?
I heard it. There they are.
Say, they just come, then they leave. That's their nature. And there's no point in fighting it.
Aren't you worried that their presence here might
I like that
cause
answer.
pollution or malfunction?
No,
No.
they do not destroy. They are clean. Sometimes they just knock things off tables and workbenches, but I don't resent them for that. They just crave a little attention, like we all do.
And yet they pretend to be so unavailable.
It's just a grand game of appearances.
I like this conversation with cats.
How to win them over. Luckily, I have a lot of canned cat delicacies that survived. Therefore,
Lots of fancy feast.
proud that they graciously allowed
Lots of meowmix.
beautiful creatures. So sublime. Almost perfect.
Toxoplasmosis moment.
I assist you in any other matter.
Last question. How does one become a warden?
How does one become a warden?
Some simply wake up to it. Others are pushed to these honorable activities by the unfortunate whim of fate. The decision on what types of units to wake is based on the current needs of the vocations. If our systems detect malfunctions that they can't fix on their own, they decide that the next traveler won't perform extractions, but ordinary repairs. This is the only case where two units are allowed to function simultaneously.
Were you awakened to be a warden?
No, that was not my case. I was a traveler once, just like you. But as the Collective's plan does not provide for wasting away, I was assigned another chance so that I could still be useful. And now, again, I have a chance to be such.
Okay, this guy is definitely the corpse I found at the beginning of the game.
May I assist you in
That's why we're using only the highest quality catches. So I stream. This stream is sponsored by Fancy Feast. No more questions, Warden.
Very well. Then I guess it's time for Old Faithful to get back to his purpose. And for you to follow yours.
Even his way of talking is different from the other travelers. The travelers are all very dull in the way they talk. They're very to the point. They don't muck around with their words. He's showing signs of humor, and it's not natural. Okay, let me... There was a page that came to mind when he was talking. I'm pretty sure I found something written by him. Yeah, here it is. What the fuck? Hold on a second.
I established an outpost for future travelers. Its location is easy to discover, but by my reckoning, the dive took me to a moment shortly before the end of Phase 3 humanity. The area is about to become deserted, perfect to continue paving the path. I intend to create more structures in the area. They will become safe havens for the next ones. Such is our calling.
Okay,
The orphans grow even stronger as they merge. Efficiency discipline is recommended. It is highly recommended to proceed with caution.
such as our calling. One more. Okay. I don't know if it's a bug or if it's something that I don't know if it's a bug or if it's something they put in deliberately, but the warden's his log is fucked. Its timer skips. It went back 2 seconds. And then it does it again at the end. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. If you weren't sus to begin with, he's sus even more now. Most importantly, I have found three cats now. I'll find more next time. Go ahead and save. I suppose I don't have anything to sell. I don't have any money either. Okay, yeah, let's save. Where's the save box? I like the warden is auto cool, yeah. He looks fucking cool. He's just really sus as fuck. Something real fucky about him. Time travel and all that shit. You got the warden here. Calling himself the last, talking about shielding his thoughts from time. His fucking travel, his voice log is skipping seconds forward and backwards. Very sus. I'm curious to see if these developers do more with the time travel thing. Because time travel stories are really difficult to do, you know, well. Because they're very prone to a lot of tropes that just kind of makes you roll your eyes and groan. But consider this is Bloober Team. They did the Silent Hill 2 remake recently. And they did another psychological horror game that's really big. Or was really big. It's called Layers of Fear. I might check that out in October. But I'm curious to see if they can do the time travel story. Japan gets time travel down pretty well. Yeah. Like, was it Steins Gate? Steins Gate had that premise, right? You could send messages through time. They got the warden talking about doing the same thing. maybe the fans, or sorry, the Bloober Team was a fan of Steins Gate. Should I might raid somebody. Let's see who's playing this game. Steins Gate is honestly the best time travel story in fiction. That's what I always hear, yeah. It goes on sale. The visual novel goes on sale on Steam all the fucking time. Time? Time. I need to check that out sometime. Let's see. I want to see who's is anyone playing this? You grabbed on sale? Yeah, I should have done the same thing. I should have. Definitely should have grabbed it. Maybe next time it goes on sale to grab those games. At least the first one. I always hear good things about the first one. I have nothing about the other. What do you call it? Read a small horror. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see who's playing Cronos. Who's playing this game? Hey, you guys want to raid a goth waifu? I just saw the tags. We'll see. Here, let's see. This is. Yeah, we'll raid the goth waifu. Okay, cool. All right. Now, in order to raid, I believe I just type this, and then type in the name. Let's see. We also have a retro player. Okay, alrighty. We'll go ahead and hit this. Be prepared. Remember, wanderers, such is our calling.